In the peaceful village of Ura was known for her beauty and kindness. She had long, flowing hair and a radiant smile that could light up any room. Ura's gentle nature made her loved by all who knew her. She was married to Obie, a tall and strong farmer who was very hardworking and very handsome. Their marriage was the envy of the village, as they were not only partners in life, but also in work. Every morning, Obie would wake up early to tend to his farms. He grew yams, vegetables, and other crops that thrived under his care. Obie's dedication to his farm was evident in the large green fields that surrounded their home. After a long day of work, he would bring the fresh produce to Ura, who would then take them to the market to sell. At the market, Ura's stall was always busy. Villagers preferred to buy from her because they knew her produce was of the highest quality. She treated every customer with warmth and respect, often giving a little extra to those in need. Ura's kindness and beauty made her a beloved figure in the community. In the evenings, Obie and Ura would sit together under the stars, talking about their dreams and plans for the future. They hoped to have children and build a prosperous life together. Their love for each other was evident in the way they laughed, supported, and cared for one another. One sunny afternoon, Ura was at the market arranging her vegetables when she felt a strange sensation in her body. She smiled to herself, suspecting what it might be. When she returned home that evening, she found Obie sitting on their porch, tired and happy from a long day of work. "Obie," Ura called softly. Obie looked up and saw the radiant smile on her face. "Yes, my love," he asked. "I have something to tell you," she said, her eyes sparkling. Obie stood up, curiosity and concern etched on his face. "What is it, Ura?" he asked. She took a deep breath and placed a gentle hand on her stomach. "Obie, I am pregnant," she said with a warm smile. For a moment, Obie was speechless. Then his face broke into the widest grin. He rushed to Ura and lifted her off her feet, spinning her around in joy. "This is wonderful news, Ura. I will work even harder for our family, for you, and for our unborn child," he said, his eyes shining with excitement. Ura laughed, feeling a wave of happiness wash over her. "We are going to be parents, Obie," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. As they stood there, holding each other close, they knew that this new chapter in their lives would be filled with joy and challenges. Obie's dedication to his farm bore fruit, and his fields flourished with life. Every morning, he would rise before dawn, tending to his crops with care and precision. His hard work and knowledge of farming paid off, and soon his farm produced a bountiful harvest. This season, the yams were particularly large and healthy, their golden brown skin shining in the sunlight. One morning, Obie decided to harvest the yams. He carefully dug them out of the soil, feeling a sense of pride as he loaded them into his cart. Full of joy, he began the journey back home, eager to show Ura the fruits of his labor. As he walked along the narrow path that led to the village, he heard a cheerful tune. However, his happiness was short-lived. As he was approaching the village, a man named Chuku stepped out from behind a tree, blocking his path. Chuku was known for his envious nature and was always looking for ways to bring down others. "Where did you get those yams?" Chuku demanded, his eyes narrowing suspiciously. Obie, taken aback by the sudden confrontation, replied calmly, "These yams are from my farm, Chuku." Chuku shook his head angrily. "Leah, these yams are stolen from my farm." Obie was shocked and confused. "No, these yams are from my farm," he repeated, his voice firm but calm. Chuku, unwilling to listen, raised an alarm. "Thief! Thief!" he shouted at the top of his lungs. Within moments, a crowd of villagers gathered around them. The people of generally kind-hearted, were quick to judge when it came to matters of theft because they had had repeated occurrences of theft. Many of them had always been envious of Obie's success and saw this as an opportunity to bring him down. "Thief!" They echoed Chuku's accusations, their voices filled with anger and distrust. Without giving Obie a chance to explain, the villagers began to beat him. He tried to shield himself from the blows, but there were too many. "Please listen to me," Obie pleaded, his voice barely audible over the commotion. These yams are from my farm. I am not a thief. Please, he begged, but his words fell on deaf ears. The villagers, blinded by their envy and rage, dragged him to the village council. Obie's heart sank as he was forced into the small, dim room where the councillors sat in judgment. The head of the council, an elderly man named Ada, looked at Obie with disappointment. Obie, you have been accused of stealing. What do you have to say for yourself? Ada asked. Obie, bruised and bleeding, stood tall and spoke with as much dignity as he could muster. Chief Ada, these yams are from my farm. I have worked hard to grow them. I am not a thief. But before he could continue, Chuku interrupted. He lies. My farm has been raided, and these yams were stolen from me. Some villagers were witnesses to this. The villagers standing outside the council chambers continued to shout accusations. Punish him. He must pay for his crime. He is the thief. Ada raised his hand for silence. Enough. We will deliberate and decide his fate. Despite Obie's pleas and attempts to defend himself, the council elders were influenced by the angry mob outside. They made their decision quickly. Obie, you will be imprisoned until we can investigate further, Ada declared. Obie's heart sank as he was led away to the village prison. He glanced back at the crowd, hoping to see a sympathetic face, but all he saw were cold, accusing eyes. As the heavy wooden door of the prison closed behind him, Obie could only think of Ura and their unborn child. He prayed silently, hoping for a miracle that would prove his innocence and reunite him with his family. Ura's close friend, Ife, was at her stall in the market when she heard the news about Obie. Her heart pounded as she ran through the crowd, dodging people and stalls. She knew she had to reach Ura quickly. When she finally arrived at Ura's stall, she was out of breath, her face pale with worry. Ura, they have taken Obie to the council and called him a thief, Ife exclaimed, her voice shaking. Ura felt as if the ground had been pulled from under her feet. What? No, this can't be true, she gasped, dropping the vegetables she was arranging. Without wasting another moment, Ura gathered her skirt and ran towards the village council, her mind racing with thoughts of Obie, the man she loved, now accused of a crime he did not commit. Tears streamed down her face as she pushed her way through the gathered crowd, desperate to see him. Please let me see my husband, she begged the elders, her voice breaking with emotion. He is innocent. My husband, Obie, would never steal. I know him so well. But the elders were unmoved. The head of the council, Chief Ada, looked at her with stern eyes. Go home, woman. You cannot visit him, he said coldly. Ura's heart sank. She knew that arguing further would not help Obie. Defeated, she turned and walked away, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. The villagers watched her with mixed expressions. Some felt pity, while others looked with disdain. Back at home, Ura waited anxiously for any news about Obie. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Each day, she went to the market, her face drawn and weary, trying to keep her mind off the troubles by working. But the villagers' whispers and pointed fingers followed her everywhere she went. That's the wife of the thief, they would say. She must have known about his plans and supported him all along. Ura tried to ignore their cruel words, but they cut deep. Her only solace was the life growing inside her. She'd often sat by the window, gently caressing her swollen belly, talking to her unborn child. Your father is a good man, she would whisper. He is not a thief. One day we will be together again. I promise you, I love. As her pregnancy progressed, Ura found it harder to work. Her body grew heavy and tired, and she struggled with the physical demands of her daily tasks. Despite the hardship, she continued to sell vegetables at the market, determined to support herself and her unborn child. The day finally arrived when Ura went into labor. It was a stormy night, with thunder echoing through the village and rain pouring down in sheets. Ura's pain started early in the evening, sharp and intense, but she remained calm, knowing that soon she would hold her child in her arms. Her friend. Hours passed, and the storm outside showed no signs of abating. Finally, with one last primal scream, Ura, brought her baby into the world. The child's cries pierced the air, a sound that seemed to merge with the howling wind and thunderclaps. Ive quickly wrapped the baby in a warm blanket and handed the tiny bundle to Ura, who looked down at her newborn with tears of joy and relief in her eyes. "It's a girl," Ive announced, her voice filled with wonder. "A strong, healthy girl." Ura cradled her daughter close, feeling a rush of love that was stronger than anything she had ever experienced. She named the baby Amina, which meant peace in their language, hoping that her daughter would bring a sense of calm and unity to their troubled village. As the storm began to subside, the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds, casting a golden light over the village. The elders took this as a sign that the gods had blessed the child. Ura, exhausted but elated, whispered a silent prayer of thanks. Amina grew quickly, her presence a beacon of hope and joy for the villagers. She had her mother's strength and spirit, and a curiosity about the world that often led her into trouble. But she also had a kind heart, always ready to help those in need. The villagers believed she was destined for greatness, a child born of storms who would one day lead them to a brighter future. Years passed, and Amina blossomed into a young woman, her beauty matched only by her courage and wisdom. She'd often sat by the river, listening to its secrets, much like her mother once did. And just as Ura had predicted, Amina's birth did bring change to the village. The disputes that once tore the community apart gradually faded, replaced by a new sense of unity and purpose. One day, as Amina sat by the river, an old woman approached her. She had a mysterious aura, with eyes that seemed to see into Amina's soul. "Child of the storm," the woman said, "you have a great destiny ahead of you. The gods have chosen you to lead your people to prosperity and peace." Amina listened intently as the woman spoke of challenges and trials she would face, but also of the immense power she held within her. The old woman handed her a small, intricately carved amulet, saying it would protect her and guide her on her journey. Meanwhile, in the village, Ura never gave up hope of seeing her husband again. She tirelessly worked to clear Obie's name, gathering evidence and speaking to anyone who would listen. Her perseverance finally paid off when she discovered a witness who had seen Chuku stealing yams from Obie's farm. This witness, a young boy named Kelechi, bravely came forward to testify in front of the village council. The council, realizing their grave mistake, immediately released Obie from prison. They publicly apologized to him and his family, denouncing Chuku for his deceit. The villagers, filled with shame and regret for their actions, welcomed Obie back with open arms. On a bright and clear morning, Obie returned home. As he approached the house, he saw Ura standing on the porch with Amina in her arms. His heart swelled with love and relief at the sight of his wife and daughter. Ura ran to him, tears streaming down her face, and they embraced tightly, not wanting to let go. "Obie, you're finally home," Ura whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes, my love," Obie replied, his voice filled with determination, "and I will never leave you and Amina again." Amina, now a young girl, looked up at her father with wide, curious eyes. She reached out her tiny hand to touch his face, and Obie gently took her into his arms. "My beautiful daughter," he said softly, "I promise to be here for you always." As the family reunited, the villagers gathered around, cheering and celebrating their return. Ura, Obie, and Amina stood together, knowing that they had overcome immense hardships, but had emerged stronger and more united. Under Amina's leadership, the village flourished and peace and prosperity reigned. Obie and Ura continued to work their farm, their bond stronger than ever. They taught Amina the values of hard work, kindness, and perseverance. And as the years passed, their love story became a cherished legend in the village of Un, a testament to the strength of family and the power of hope. The legacy of Ura, Obie, and their daughter Amina lived on, a shining example of resilience and the unbreakable bond between husband, wife, and child. Together, they forged a brighter future for their village, their love and unity lighting the way for generations to come.